Hey guys, what's up? It's Megadan29 and we're back with a Game Genie shirt because we cheat. No, we're back because I haven't been doing this for a really long time, so I want to start out with the video by saying I apologize. I have not done this for a while, but I've been playing a lot of games. I had a really busy summer, and well, we're back here, and I'm glad you're here watching. But today we're going to talk about a game that was highly amped up in the community. I think because us retro gamers, we like wrestling a lot. So today I'm talking about WrestleQuest. And WrestleQuest was available on every system pretty much. I think it was on Xbox, PlayStation, and I played it on the Xbox. It was $30, which I thought was kind of a high price point, but I was okay with it because I was like, man, this is going to be freaking awesome. So I have a lot to say about this, and I don't know how much you want to stick around for. If you want to just be here for the review, I will just do the review first. So I'll jump right into it here. The game centers around two characters, and one is Machacho Man, and the other one, I forget his name, but he is like Bret Hart. Machacho Man's like Macho Man, and the other guy is like Bret Hart. And what it does is you play the roles of two separate people, and they come together with one common goal. Machacho Man is more of, Macho Man I'll just call him, is more of this really, really young wrestling guy that's in indie, has a dream that he wants to be the champion, wants to make it to the, basically the WWE, but they call it PAW, but it's supposed to be Raw. And he wants to make it to the pros. And then you got the Bret Hart guy, which I'm sorry for not remembering his name. He is very much like Bret Hart. His whole family's involved in it already. He's already on PAW, which is Raw. And he's already making a name for himself. He is just trying to get further up the ranks. He is trying to be the world heavyweight champion, essentially. So that all sounds great, right? That's what we were looking for. This plays like your straight up RPG. You walk around the map, you go to different areas, you fight different enemies, you level up. It's turn-based when you're fighting. You pick your different attacks. A lot of time your different attacks are different moves or wrestling moves. Like Machacho Man's got the elbow drop, and he's got lots of other moves too. And then the Bret Hart guy has the sharpshooter, and they call it something else. And then he's with all of his buddies too. You have all of his friends that are in the game as well. And then Machacho Man, he meets a bunch of people, and as he's trying to go up through the ranks, he's meeting a bunch of people in each different circuit, and they team up and they accomplish side quests and goals and things like that. There's definitely legends in the game, legends that you can use as summons. So all you RPG guys know out there why summons are in the game. Summons usually take up a lot more of your magic power, which is called your AP in this one, your ability points. And you can use your magic or ability points to use your summons and do high damage. And so there's an Andre the Giant one, there's a Jake the Snake, there's a British Bulldog, there's a Legion of Doom, and I think there's a Junkyard Dog too, but I did not get it. I did not see him in the game, so I don't know if it was taken out or if I just missed it. And you meet up with, there's Macho Man's in the game, you get to see shades of DDP and Jeff Jarrett. And I mean, La Parka's in there. La Parka, I believe, is a summon as well. So there's a lot of things going on where they put wrestlers in the game. Now, one thing I didn't know about the game that I wanted to state to you guys that's very, 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 very important, and I don't think anybody was aware. And maybe I didn't look into it enough, because to be fair, when I play games, I don't look at all the trailers and all the gameplay and read all about it before I buy it all the time. I pretty much just look at it for moments, and then I make a decision, and I know whether I'm going to want to try it or not. And then I go from there. Sometimes I love the game, sometimes I don't. Usually I can pick games that I'm going to love, and this just sounded like, I'm not a big RPG guy, but with wrestling, it sounds like it could be pretty awesome. And I'll get into that later in this video. So what happened, and as a huge part of it, is the whole world on this game is a toy room. Let me say that again. The whole world on this game is a toy room. You are playing as toys. So think of it like Toy Story. You are controlling basically Hasbro WWF figures. That is basically what you are. And throughout the game, you see a lot of other toys. If you're really into toys, then you're gonna love this. And I am, but I'll get into that later. You fight enemies that are like Mad Balls. You fight enemies that are like G.I. Joes. You see things that are like Barbies. You're in lots of different areas. I mean, you even see things, I believe, that are sort of like a Star Wars type of thing. Basically, any toy that you can think of is pretty much in the game or paying homage to it. You go to an area in the game that's like a light bright, and you have to unplug lights to turn on different lights. You're in a cave, and you need to get through they're seeing everything, so you have to use the light brights to do that. And there's a thing that's like Simon, where you got to memorize the colors to unlock the doors. It's all based around toys. I would argue that toys is the main thing in this game, not wrestling. Wrestling is a close second, but really it's about toys. It's about all the different toys in the 80s and 90s, and it sticks to that. So I wanted to get that out there. That is one thing that I feel like nobody knew going into this game. And graphically, you couldn't really tell, because a lot of these retro-inspired games, they all kind of have that same HD retro graphics look. It all looks kind of the same, that HD, shiny, plasticky look. You know, it all looks like that, right? This game took about 50 hours to beat, which I will get into. I think, again, that is just not something most people were looking for, and I'll get into that, and I'm going to try to do this in the right order. So you basically play as these two guys, and they end up, you know, getting together at some point, obviously, and their stories intertwine, and they meet people, and those people intertwine. You play as like probably up to 10 different characters in the game, because you have a lot of side people that hop back and forth, and they meet this guy, meet that guy. The story is actually pretty in-depth. Like, it goes pretty far. It pays homage to a lot of wrestling quotes. It brings up a lot of things, like the Montreal Screwjob with Bret Hart. It definitely talks about that and makes something that happens sort of be like that, so you know that when you know wrestling, you get what it's doing. But like I said, it's more about toys. And so I would say if you love 80s, 90s toys and you're so into it and you love RPGs, then you're going to love the game. You're going to love the game. You're going to laugh at the story. You're going to laugh at the characters you get to be. I mean, you have a character that's like a Transformer. So you're going to love it then. I'm going to go ahead and I'll get into this, what I was expecting. I didn't like that very much, because that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. I thought we were playing as basically real people, and we were going to portray wrestling like it's real. So you're going to do matches like it's real. And like in the story in this game, they talked about scripts and everything. And it's like, that's the thing about wrestling, like, you don't want to always understand is there. I think we should have just made a game where we act like it's real, and you try to train, and you get in hard situations where you got to choose between face and heel. You gotta do different things, right? I think they could have made a really cool story where they take two real guys, or, you know, portrayed real guys. They could have been like Macho Man and Bret Hart, but call them something different like they did. And then you fight characters that are like people. Like, have a bunch of enemies that look like Vader. Have a bunch of enemies that look like IRS. Have a bunch of enemies that look like Nails, you know. And that could be some of the enemies that you fight in the game, and it could put you in different situations where you could make a choice. Do you screw this guy over that's your buddy and you maybe go a heel way, or do you help him? And there's pros and cons to it. Maybe you get less money if you help this guy. Maybe you'll automatically lose and you'll lose your undefeated streak if you help this guy. But you'll stay undefeated, but you're still undefeated, but you're kind of a heel now because you screw somebody or you cheat. You know, things like that. Maybe you get knocked out and something happens and you have a chance to grab like brass knuckles on the ground, and you can choose to fight fair and probably lose, or you can grab the brass knuckles, hit them with it, you win, and you stay undefeated. You know, putting you in these tough situations that cause a lot of replayability as well. I wanted the wrestlers and the situations and the environment to be real and have me fight through the ranks and get to the championship and make hard decisions. And hell, maybe even at the end of the game I'm not champion because of the decisions I made, and I'm happy being whatever I am, right? Maybe you have a lot of different paths you could go. They could have got really creative with it. I also wanted a shorter game. This game ranked in at about 50 hours, and I thought that was way too long. I could have gone with a 25-hour, half that game, and been totally happy. I just think that when people love RPGs, like Final Fantasy, like Chrono Trigger, I think the reason people love those games is that probably very memorable characters like Final Fantasy VII with Cloud, and I think that it's got a really good story where it's like watching a TV show or wanting to watch that next movie. You kind of can't wait to see what happens next. You know, I think that's kind of what people wanted or would want out of an RPG. I think that's what's probably made the best RPGs. It's not always about the enemies. It's not always about the environment. It's not always about that. It's about caring about the characters and the story. I would think that's what people care about. So I think that if they would have went in more of a realistic wrestling point of view, like you're really wrestling, and just portray it like power bombs are real and you're trying to kick out of it and things like that, it would have been better, you know? And I think that because it kept being repetitive and just doing the same thing, it was way too long for its own good. And I don't know if the developers did that on purpose because they were selling it for $30, so they wanted to make sure that, you know, nowadays people gotta so many hours equate to how much a game should be worth. You know, a lot of people do that. I don't agree with that, but a lot of people do that. And so maybe that was the reasoning for making it so long, but I just felt like the game was too freaking long. It was too long, dude. I think most people nowadays have a problem with having attention span to finishing their video games, and we're talking about video games that are less than 10 hours. People have trouble finishing them, and it's definitely if they're 20 hours, and I mean we're talking about a 50-hour game here. And I can go with that too, because I played it on Xbox, and every single time you get an achievement on Xbox, it tells you the percentage of people that have gotten that achievement. And when I got to the end of the game, and I took a while to beat it, I finished it, and you get that last achievement saying that you beat the game, right? And it told me that 0.78 or something like that percentage of people have gotten this achievement. So what does that tell me? That tells me that people are not finishing the game. And I'm sure they're thinking the same thing as me, that they're just getting sick of sort of being a repetitive thing. You know, this is a repetitive story. It's a repetitive thing. It's going on for way too long. There's way too much unnecessary dialogue, things that are not leading to nowhere. Characters that we don't care about. We don't care what happens. And they want us to care, but we don't. The storytelling was just not good enough. It didn't deliver there. And I think that that's what happened. And so I think that people will not finish this game. And so there's a lot to say here, and I'm trying to dance around here and do it. I'll talk a little bit about the combat system. It's turn-based, Pretty standard stuff. It's very easy. It's not hard to stay alive. You will have some moments where the game was kind of dumb. And they did some things that weren't very smart, like getting into a map and making it a little bit too complicated to figure out where to go. And it's, again, with an RPG, it's kind of unnecessary. It's more about the story, fighting mobs, leveling up, maybe even having to grind a little bit, and really caring about the characters. Not so much about, I'm in a maze and I can't figure out where to go, or I gotta figure out how to hit these switches in the right order so that it gets me where I gotta go. You know, a lot of survival horror type of situations, puzzles that you were in that are extremely unnecessary. So I did not have fun with that kind of stuff. I was like, guys, where am I supposed to go? I mean, I was this close to looking stuff up. Very bad situations. And it happened to me 3, 4, 5 times. You know, where I'm going, I just couldn't tell where to go. Oh, I'm supposed to go here? Well, hell, it doesn't even look like I can go there. You know what I mean? So very frustrating. The game's already taking longer than you want, and now you're spending extra time just walking around the map doing nothing. You know? So the fighting, though, is very standard. It's turn-based. When you do beat somebody, there are enemies that just die, but then there's enemies where you have to pin them. And there's a meter that comes up, and you got to get it in the green 3 times to count the 1, 2, 3. It's very standard stuff. You'll understand how to fight pretty easily, pretty quickly into it. And fighting is not hard. It's not. You can find hidden chests in each stage. You can try to find more power-ups, more equipment. You go to shops, you buy new equipment to make your guy have more defense, or be able to not be set on fire, be able to not be frozen, be able to not be affected by shock element, whatever. You know, just like your standard RPG. But it's, again, I don't think that's what we were looking for. You know, I don't think that's what we wanted. You had a lot of enemies that were like, you're fighting a tree. You have an ally that's like a moose. He's literally a moose. You have a transformer that is one of your buddies. You have a guy that's like a G.I. Joe that's one of your buddies. I just don't think that's what we were looking for. I think that we just wanted wrestlers, and maybe this wrestler's like Ultimate Warrior, and we call him Ultimate Guy, or something like that. And he looks like Ultimate Warrior, and he's on our team, you know? I think that's what we were looking for, and have him be really intense, right? We did not get that. Other than that, I guess I can get into ranking the game a little bit. I'll jump into that, and then I'll try to finish up with some other things. Real quick, I guess, there's some glitches in the game, too. I definitely had a spot where I got stuck on the map and I had to reload my game. And then I had another spot where you have to unlock this door, and you need one of your characters to unlock the door. But it doesn't let you change to them unless you're standing in a very specific spot. It's very broken. It's very messed up. Which tells me the game wasn't tested the best, which is normal, honestly, for some of these indie kind of developers, these smaller developers. They don't take the time to cross their T's and dot their I's. You know, that was a little annoying too. I can't drive home enough that the 50 hours was too much. So a lot of the frustration came because I'm still playing a game that I'm kind of getting bored with. So like everything from 20 to 25 hours past was just to the point where I was trying to finish the stinking game, you know? By the way, there was some reviewers out there that put out that this game was 30 or 35 hours. They're completely lying. These reviewers are not even finishing the game. So be very careful when you listen to some reviewers, and this is not promoting myself, this is just more of me being annoyed with something, that if you're going to review the game, guys, do it correctly, do it legitimately. Stop just thinking about getting your YouTube video out there quickly and getting your views. Do things correctly. Don't steer people the wrong way. Tell them that it's a 30 to 35 hour review when it's a game when it's not. Don't say that, because that's 20 hours off, I assure you. I didn't even 100% the game, and I took 50 hours. So be careful of that. Be careful of that. At least I will say this for myself. At least you know when you come here, I authentically played the game. Let's get into the ranking of the game. When we're looking at graphics, well, the graphics are like I told you. They're like that standard retro style, HD looking, shiny graphics. I think they're fine. I'll go ahead and say it's a 4. It's nothing great that I'm looking at, but there was some cool movement and there was some cool looking graphics. It was fine. For the retro inspired games, I think it works. It doesn't bother me, so I'll give it a solid 4. When you talk about sound, there was some funny voiceovers and stuff like that, but man, they really used the same type of music and stuff like that in the game over and over and over and over again. Again, the game is so long, you're hearing the same thing for so long. People get annoyed from hearing the same music in Back to the Future. Well, you can beat that game in 20 minutes. This game is 50 hours long and you're hearing the same stuff. So I will say with sound, I'll give it like a 2.5 because of the music needing to change. There was a lot of the music that's really the same. And they should have changed that up. Controls. Everything with controls is fine. Everything with hitting your switches, doing your turn-based combat, everything was fine. I give that a 5. Controls is perfectly fine. I can't think of anything bad to say about it. The pinning mechanism's easy. There's some other short mini games in the game where you're like unlocking doors. There's a guy who can break into cars and stuff, and you have to do something. Everything's fair. Everything works in that way. I think that stuff's good. Controls are great. Fun factor, I'm going to go with a 2. And I'm going to go with a 2 because of you had some problems with some stuff that was kind of broken. You had maps that were a little bit too complicated for the wrong type of game. And the biggest thing was, it's too long. Shorten the frickin' game, guys. Should have been 20, 25, 30 hours. No more than 30 hours. Even that's pushing it. I'd say 20, 25. 20, 25. Make it replayable. Make it to where you can go down different paths. Maybe even make it to where you can play as different people. Maybe at the beginning, there's like 3 or 4 different wrestlers and you can go down a women's line. There's maybe a couple women that you could choose from. And then there's a couple of guys you could choose from. Give us replayability. Give us stuff that's different. Don't repeat the same thing. And also, I didn't like that it was all based on toys. I didn't like that. I wanted it to be sort of a real, more realistic wrestling experience and have people that portrayed the real wrestlers, and then having some of the real wrestlers in the game, like talking to Jake the Snake Roberts, talking to British Bulldog, and having them actually affect your story and actually be sitting there trying to help you out or give you advice or something like that, or maybe even fight one of them, because I mean, Jake the Snake Roberts still fights to this day. Maybe you fight him at an indie show. You know what I mean? Something like that. It was never a hard game. There wasn't to the point where I couldn't beat somebody. I did die, but it was never like I died a whole bunch of times trying to beat some tough boss or something. Everything was pretty easy, so it was a very easy game. It's just, I could tell it's supposed to be the type of game that's designed for you to just be involved in the story and care about it. But it didn't deliver that, and it was way too long. So those two things made it very undesirable. I would never play the game. And to be honest, unless you guys love old toys and you're really, really into the old toys and you want to see all this stuff and you want to play as a toy, it's not even as good as Toy Story or something like that. It's different. It's just, it's hard to be invested in the story. The story doesn't matter, you know? Even the last boss, he's basically supposed to be throughout the game Vince McMahon. That's basically what he is. He's screwing people over. He's trying to screw over the other companies. He's trying to buy them out and ruin them and take control of them. And he's an elephant. He's a purple elephant. Yeah, stupid, right? Why they didn't just give you a guy in a business suit and have it kind of portray Vince McMahon? I don't know. I didn't make the game, but I would have done a hell of a lot better. So, that is my review. This is long enough as it is, guys. I would say to stay away from WrestleQuest. It was supposed to be this great game that we thought was awesome. It wasn't. It wasn't. Don't waste your time. Only 0.76 or something like that people completed the game on Xbox. So there you have it. Anyway, guys, I will talk to you later. God bless you. and I'll see you next